Hello guys, welcome back to my channel HK Official. Today I am there with part 4 of this unit, that is wave optics. I am covering the syllabus of engineering physics. We are there in unit number 1 and previously I have recorded part 1, 2 and 3 of this chapter. So please go and watch them and then come to this part so you'll be better understanding each and every concept. So let's go ahead and see what we are going to explore in this chapter. So the first we will understand engineering applications of interference. There are two applications in our syllabus. First is testing of optical flatness and the second is anti-reflection coating. These both are very important with respect to our examination. We have to make diagram, then explain them, and if there are some small derivation, we have to do them, and it is very simple to score in this concept. So pay attention and you will be hitting all the concepts in this video. So here, the first thing that is in engineering applications of interference, that is testing of optical flatness. So here is the diagram in front of you. Imagine placing a flat piece of glass on top of another but with a small gap at one edge. You can see that alpha denoting the angle. When you shine a special light on them, you should see straight and evenly spaced lines where they touch. This special light is nothing but the monochromatic light. If the glass isn't perfectly flat, these lines will look wavy or irregular. To make it flat, you polish the glass until those lines become straight and uniform. This process ensures that the glass is optically flat. So this is the simple application which we can see, and in the terms of optics this is very important. As we all know, we make specs, so it is very important for those specs to have a particular flatness. So that is given by this method, very important as per that concept which we do with the help of interference. So you can see in the diagram there is a test piece. See the above diagram, there is a test piece and the other which is at an angle alpha, that is optically flat surface. In between what we keep spacer, and because of that we can see some interference pattern on the above optically flat surface. So here what happens, when this interference pattern is uniform, we will understand that the specs or whatever that glass piece is there, it is uniformly flat. When if you see the second diagram, you will know that there are wavy or irregular type of pattern seen in the interference pattern. So what is this? This is the indication that our test piece is not uniform, it is irregular. And if this indication is got, we will polish the glass and we can make it optically flat. So that would be perfect. This is nothing but the testing of optical flatness concept. I hope you understand. Let us see what we have to write in the theory if this question arises in a paper. The first point which we have to write is a wedge-shaped air film is formed between the test piece, then standard optically flat surface by keeping them in contact with one edge and separating them by a spacer at the other edge as shown in the figure above. So we just have to describe the position of our test piece, spacer and whatever the optically flat surface is there. So in first point, mention the positions. Then second, it is then illuminated by a monochromatic source of light. Then third, if a test piece is optically flat, their interference will consist of straight and equidistant fringes. Then fourth, if the test piece is not optically flat, the fringes will have irregular shape. Fifth, test piece is polished again till the straight fringes are observed. The whole content which I have explained you, I hope you are clearing now. Okay. Now here is the second one, that is the second application of interference, that is anti-reflection coating. This question comes for 5 to 6 marks and it is very important as asked for many a times in previous papers. So pay attention. Here, imagine you have a piece of glass like in a camera lens and you want to reduce the glare caused by light reflections. To do this, you apply a very thin layer of transparent material, like in this diagram you can see MgF2, which has a lower refractive index than glass. This layer is typically around 1/4 the wavelength of light thick. Here we have taken the thickness as lambda upon 4 mu. When light hits this coated glass, some of it gets reflected but some also goes through. Because of the thin layer, the reflected light waves interfere with each other. This interference cancels out some of the reflected light, making it dimmer. Importantly, this interference doesn't affect the light passing through the glass. This technique is used in camera lenses to make images appear brighter by reducing unwanted reflections. I hope you understand. See the diagram very carefully. You have a glass which is of refractive index 1.5. Then on the upper side of glass, you have coated with MgF2 layer which has refractive index less than that of glass. So that is refractive index I have written over there, that is of 1.38. The thickness of that layer of MgF2 is lambda upon 4 mu. This is important because at the last we are using this for our derivation. Okay, then air has refractive index of 1, as we all know. When any monochromatic light comes on this MgF2 layer, some of it get refracted and most of it get reflected. So this technique is used in our camera lenses to make images appear more brighter. Why we see faces that are much more brighter than real in our selfie camera? That is because of this anti-reflection coating, and it is present in all camera lenses. If you see in your mobile also, this anti-reflection coating is present. So this is the layer of MgF2 which is required, and this is the concept of interference which we use in our daily lives. But now we understood why is it happening, right? Now let us see what theory we have to write in this. The first point, the anti-reflection coatings reduce the intensity of light by distractive interference and enhance the transmission. What it enhances? It enhances the transmission instead of reflection and refraction. This is achieved by depositing thin film of transparent material having refractive index less than that of glass. This is a very important condition, that the refractive index of any material which we are using, here we are using MgF2, it's right, but any material which we have to use in this anti-reflection coating, its refractive index must be less than glass. That is the main point. On glass surface to the thickness of lambda upon 4 mu, and make it possible that you should maintain this thickness of lambda upon 4 mu. Then third, the most commonly used material is MgF2 with the refractive index 1.38. Then fourth point is total path difference. This is the total path difference which we have considered for interference in thin film. If you have seen my video, you will be understanding this concept very easily. So delta is equal to 2 mu t cos r. Here delta is nothing but the path difference, because both the rays are reflected from denser medium with the phase change of pi results in no net phase change. Here both the rays which are coming, they are reflecting from denser medium only. So here we will not consider the Stokes law because it would be cancelled, because pi both of the rays are coming and reflecting, so that would be cancelled, and here we will not consider the Stokes law which we used to see, like 2 mu t cos r plus minus lambda by 2. We will not consider that plus minus lambda by 2. Simply the equation will be delta is equal to 2 mu t cos r. Then our fifth point will be for normal incidence. We will consider for normal incidence cos r must be equal to 1. This is the condition. So for cos r equal to 1, we all know r must be equal to 0 because cos 0 is 1. So what will be the equation? That is delta is equal to 2 mu t cos r. If we are considering cos r is equal to 1, we must write the equation as delta is equal to 2 mu t. I hope you are clearing. So now here at the place of t, just put the condition of thickness which we have considered. What was the thickness? It is delta upon 4 mu. Just substitute that value in this equation and you will be getting the delta, and that is the only thing which we have to find out. So here as t is equal to lambda upon 4 mu for coating material, the delta, if we substitute it in delta is equal to 2 mu t, after cancellation we will get path difference equal to lambda upon 2. Okay, this is the final one. Now the last points which we can consider for it is, due to this path difference, it causes diffractive interference in reflected light, due to which intensity of reflected light decreases and intensity of transmitted light increases. Here consider distractive interference, not diffractive. So here, because of this path difference, what was the path difference we considered? Lambda upon 2. It causes distractive interference in reflected light, due to which intensity of reflected light decreases and intensity of transmitted light increases. Hence we decrease the rate of reflection and increase the rate of transmission. Okay, and this technique is used in camera lens to enhance enhance the brightness of image. So I hope you understood this concept. Rewind if you have not understood. Just you have to explain the diagram, and then you have to know, you have to write that we know delta is equal to 2 mu t cos r, that is the path difference. Take the condition that for normal incidence cos r must be equal to 1. Substitute in the delta is equal to 2 mu t cos r equation. You will get delta is equal to 2 mu t, and as we have considered thickness must be lambda upon 4 mu, just substitute that and you will get the delta is equal to lambda upon 2, and just at last write 1 or 2 points like what are its applications and all, and yes, you are done with the question. So this is how you have to explain it. Now we have diffraction. Yes, we have learned in our previous standards. So what is diffraction? It is like the bending of light when it encounters an obstacle. So to see this effect clearly, two things need to happen here. I have written those two things, that is the obstacle size should be close to the size of light's wavelength. This is very important, and the light source should act like a point source, emitting light from a single point. This is the main important 2 points which you have to consider while giving any definition of diffraction. Okay, this is the main definition which I have written, that diffraction is bending of light due to presence of an obstacle to the path of the light, and for visible diffraction write these 2 points and then go towards the 2 types of diffraction. I hope there is not much thing in this for explanation. We will explain the types of diffraction. Let's come on to these 2 main types of diffraction which are present in our syllabus, that is Fresnel diffraction and Fraunhofer diffraction. I have made the table of difference. So first point is of diagram. You also have to draw diagram first in your examination. So take the screenshot or draw it in your classwork and whatever in your notebook. Okay, so here in Fresnel diffraction, what you can see, both the source and the screen are at finite distance from the diffracting object, and you can see that no lenses are used in the Fresnel diffraction, while in Fraunhofer diffraction you can see there are 2 lenses, lens 1 and lens 2. Okay, here in this image you would be seeing like L1 and L2 are similar in the size, but it's not like that. L1 is comparatively smaller than L2. When we are learning Fraunhofer diffraction due to single slit, just after this I will be showing you the complete diagram where you can make out the difference over there. Okay, so this is the diagram for Fresnel, where you can see the slits are present on upper and lower ends, because of which the incident light is going and hitting and bending. So that is diffraction, and they are getting together on the screen. So that is Fresnel diffraction. And in Fraunhofer diffraction you can see the one lens which is present. It is transferring and making that incident light into plane wavefront, and then after when it is passing through lens 2, they are coming close and they are making a point on the screen. So that is about Fraunhofer and Fresnel diffraction. Let's see what all points we have to write in the difference. It is a very important concept, so pay attention here also. The first point you have to consider is the source and screen are at finite distance from the diffracting element. Finite distance is very important word in this point, and in Fraunhofer you can see source and screen are at infinite distance from diffracting element. So here finite, and in Fraunhofer infinite distance is important. Then second point, in Fresnel no lens are used to study diffraction in lab, and in Fraunhofer lenses are used to study the diffraction pattern in lab. In the diagram itself we are getting to know that lenses are used in Fraunhofer and not used in Fresnel. So now the third point is, in Fresnel incident and diffracted wavefront is spherical and cylindrical. This is very important because in Fraunhofer the incident and diffracted wavefront is plane only, no spherical or cylindrical. So this is the major difference, because in Fresnel we have spherical and cylindrical wavefronts of incident and diffracted light, and in Fraunhofer incident and diffracted wavefront is plane. The fourth point is lateral distance is important. That means while considering or while learning this Fresnel, we have to study the lateral distance, and while learning or studying this Fraunhofer diffraction, we must consider angular inclination. Hence, angular inclination is important in Fraunhofer diffraction. So, the first point is you have to know that source and screen are at finite distance in Fresnel, and in Fraunhofer it is in infinite distance. In the second point must be that no lens are used in Fresnel and lenses are used in Fraunhofer. Then incident and diffracted wavefront is spherical or cylindrical, and here it is plane. Then fourth point, lateral distance is important in Fresnel, and here angular inclination is important in Fraunhofer. Last 2 points are less applications in designing optical instrument. We don't use Fresnel diffraction frequently while designing optical instruments, because you know in optical instrument optics consist of lenses and lenses are not used in Fresnel. So of course this is not having that much importance in optical instrument. And on the other hand, Fraunhofer, it has many applications in designing optical instruments. Why? Because yes, of course, lenses are used. Then at 6, mathematical treatment is difficult, and here mathematical treatment is easy. Now let me know why they are saying Fraunhofer mathematical treatment is easy, because now the next topic is Fraunhofer diffraction in single slit. We are going to derive it. We are going to make the diagrams, derivation, and the condition of maxima, minima, and all. So that's why they have written, consider it as a point, and I hope you will write this in your notebook and you will try to learn this and understand this. So you'll be able to cover all the topics in exam and you'll be scoring complete marks in this question. Let's go on to Fraunhofer diffraction due to single slit. So calm your mind, because this is a very big derivation. I'm not scaring you, but yes, you have. It is very simple. Believe me, it is very simple. Just you have to know the diagram. You have to explain the diagram in starting points, and then you have to take some considerations, derive it. Then you have to write condition of maxima and minima. Yes, we have done it in interference due to thin film. So, but yes, only these things are there. So let's go and see what is it. So here, this is the diagram of Fraunhofer diffraction due to single slit. I hope you are feeling it easy. I'll make it easy for you. So here, go from a left side, you can see S. What is S? That is the source. Alright. So from that source, whatever light is coming, that is incident, that is on lens number 1. Okay. So that lens, as I have told you before, this lens 1 is comparatively shorter than lens 2. So here you can mark the difference of it. So here in lens 1, as those incident lights are coming, after passing from lens 2, what you can see, that these lines are converted into plane wavefront. Yes, we have marked this thing in our difference also. So here what will happen, see in the figure, the plane wavefront incident on slit AB of width A. See, I have given AB as width A. Here you can see the ray AQ and BV, which are coming to focus at point P. They are not getting diffracted. Alright, so this ray AQ and BV comes to focus at point P, and you can see a bright central image which is obtained because of zero path difference. Mark my words, I am saying because of zero path difference. Why? Because there is no bending of light. That slit is making no difference in the path of these both rays. Okay, so this is nothing but the point P which we are getting out of this because of zero path difference, and that is a bright central image point. Okay, then the ray which is traveling in AR direction, okay, that is coming to focus at point T. Okay, because this point will be the point of maximum or minimum intensity, because here it is depending on the path difference between them. If the path difference is more or less, that on that consideration we can make out that what is making it is making maximum or minimum intensity, whatever. So here the diffraction is taking place, hence the point T is now the intensity part. Okay, so here the rays are coming to focus at point T. So here this is the diagram, complete diagram, nothing else is there, only you have to make a screen on right hand side. From left hand side come with the source lens 1 which is making all the rays parallel, that is of plane wavefront. Then we have to mark the slit A and slit B, mark the width as A, and then the ray AQ and BV are there which are coming to focus at point P, and then the rays which are diffracting because of the slits, then make those, that is AR is there which is coming to focus at point T. So like this is the diagram for Fraunhofer diffraction, and yes, it is because of a single slit, so we will mark that. Okay, this is the figure. I hope you have understood it. Let's come to the theory part. First we will explain the figure over here. Like in first point you can say, in figure A, name it as A, the plane wavefront incident on slit AB of width A. Then second point, the ray AQ and BV comes to focus at point P, and bright central image is obtained because of zero path difference. This is very important over here. Then third, the ray traveling in AR direction comes to focus at point T. The point will be the point of maximum or minimum intensity, which is depending on the path difference between them. Now from here our derivation starts. To obtain Fraunhofer diffraction due to single slit, divide the slit of width A into n number of slits. As we have to obtain the Fraunhofer diffraction, we have to divide that single slit into n number of slits. So for dividing it, here we have to mention it as delta x. Okay, so this delta x will be equal to A by n. Here A is nothing but the summation or of the sum of all delta x1 plus delta x2 plus delta delta xn. So this is nothing but the first condition. Then when we go ahead, we have the path difference between first and last wave vector. We have to consider for the first and the last wave vector. So for that, we have to consider the triangle ABC. So for that triangle, we have to consider sine theta. As you can see in the diagram, we have made such a triangle in between those AB, and I have marked that C also, which is perpendicular to AR. So from that we can make out what is sine theta. So in triangle ABC, we can see what is sine theta. Of course, sine theta is opposite upon hypotenuse. So here you will consider that it is AC upon AB. Okay, now as we have to find out AC over here, we will make out the equation, that is AC is equal to AB sine theta. Now here what is AB? AB is nothing but the width, and we have made that width as A. So here AC will be equal to A sine theta. Alright, now we will calculate what is phase difference. As I have told you, what is the formula for phase difference and what is the comparison between phase difference and path difference? It is nothing but the phase difference is equal to 2 pi by lambda into path difference. Sometimes this formula is also important because some numericals come on this formula also for 3 marks. So it is very important, you can consider it. So phase difference will be equal to 2 pi by lambda into path difference. So your phase difference is denoted by phi. So phi will be equal to 2 pi by lambda. Now the path difference which we have calculated, that is AC, is nothing but A sine theta. So what will be phi? Phi will be equal to 2 pi by lambda into A sine theta. Now for 7th point, you can write for adjacent wave vector. You just have to make that delta symbol for making the difference. Delta phi will be equal to 2 pi by lambda into delta x sine theta. The equation is same. Don't feel it is different, but just we have written it for the adjacent wave vector. Now when we divide the slit into n slits, each slit gives same amplitude with different phase angle, and it results in circular arc of radius. So you can make out this if you are making amplitude same but the angle is different. So that, like if you consider your compass in your hand, the amplitude you are keeping the same, but as you are moving that compass, or you can say rounder, whatever you say, so that is making a circle, an arc. So that is nothing the concept which is used over here. So when we divide the slit into n slits, each slit gives same amplitude as we take the same length in our compass. So with the different phase angle, yes, of course we are changing the angle every time while making that arc. So this results in circular arc of radius r. This arc has amplitude Em. Here Em is nothing but the maximum amplitude. We are denoting that with Em and with the width of slit A. Now what we are going to do further, we are going to make that arc and we are going to derive it. Okay. Let us see. Yes, this is the arc. Here you can see AB. Okay, OAB you can see, and this triangle is divided with OG, which is perpendicular to AB, and you can see the angle AOG. I have written there alpha is equal to phi by 2. Alpha is equal to phi by 2, and the same I have rearranged for phi and I have written it for BOG. Okay, so phi is equal to 2 alpha. Both are same, just here I have written for phi and here I have written for alpha, and here E theta by 2 is the length for AG and E theta by 2 is the length for GB, and whatever the arc is forming, you can see that arc which I have shown with the arrow, that is nothing but EM, and the point which is having maximum amplitude, we have denoted it as EM. Okay, so this is figure B. Now in this figure, you have to consider triangle OAG. Okay, in this OAG you have to find sine angle. So here the angle which we are using, it is phi by 2. So as for sine theta, the theta will be here phi by 2. So you have to write sine phi by 2 equal to, so what will be the sine angle in this? It would, in triangle OAG, it will be AG upon OA. Okay, now in the diagram itself, I have written what is alpha. Alpha is equal to phi by 2. So at the place of sine phi by 2, we will write alpha, and what is AG? We have written AG. All the thing you have to take from diagram only. So I will say you that you have to understand the diagram first, and then you will get the derivation very easily. So here what is AG? AG is nothing but E theta by 2. Okay, this E theta by 2 we have put in the place of AG, and what is OA? OA is nothing but r. Okay, I have mentioned it in the diagram. So here r is nothing but the radius. So just put all values here, and what after rearranging you will get e theta by 2r is equal to sine alpha. Why alpha we have taken? We have taken because of phi by 2. Till here I hope it is simple. Now just take this 2r to right hand side, you will get e theta is equal to 2r sine alpha, as I have written over here. Mark it as equation number 1. Okay, till this I hope you are understanding. Now what we will do, we will find out what is phi now. As per our geometrical information, you will know that what is phi. Here, if you consider in the diagram, what is phi? Phi is equal to arc AB upon r. This is with our mathematical knowledge. Okay, so what will be the phi? Phi will be arc AB upon r. Don't feel it complicated, just understand in steps. First, what we have considered the figure A, that is of Fraunhofer diffraction due to single slit. Then what we did, we understood the diagram, we made the diagram in exam. I am telling you about the exam point of view. Then you will explain that diagram. Then you will start with the path difference. You will write the derivation and you will find out what is path difference. Then you will write that because of the same amplitude and different phase angle, a circular arc of radius r is generated, and that arc you will show in the diagram as I have told you now. Just remember the diagram completely and you will get the further derivation. I will make sure of it. Okay, so here in figure B, what we did, we just consider first triangle and then we make out what is sine theta from that. So here we will get this equation, that is e theta is equal to 2r sine alpha. This is nothing but the first equation. Now we made our mathematical knowledge over here, and what is phi? It is nothing but arc AB upon r, and then phi will be equal to what is arc AB. We have considered it as EM in the diagram, so we will write there EM upon r. Now what is phi? We have written in the diagram phi is 2 alpha, so we will write that 2 alpha is equal to EM upon r over here, and just we will rearrange, we will keep that r over there and alpha in the denominator. What we will get, 2r is equal to EM upon alpha. Why we have considered this much of part? Because we have to know what is the value of 2r to put it in the equation number 1. Simple. Now just put this 2r value in equation number 1. This is what you will get, e theta is equal to EM upon alpha sine alpha. Now just we have to square them. After squaring, we will get e theta square is equal to EM square into sine square alpha upon alpha square. Okay, now what we will do here, I intensity is directly proportional to amplitude square. We all know here amplitude I am denoting it by E. So here the equation will become I theta is equal to Im sine square alpha upon alpha square, and yes, this is the final equation which we want, that is intensity due to single slit. I hope you understand. Just from this diagram, you have to consider this diagram very well and you have to understand it. After the further, you will get the whole derivation in your mind. Just draw this diagram neatly and label all the parts and you will get it all. So first what I did, I have considered triangle OAG, and with the help of sine theta, that is theta here I have considered phi by 2. Phi by 2 is nothing but alpha as our derivation. We got this e theta by 2r is equal to sine alpha, and by rearranging I got e theta is equal to 2r sine alpha. Now I have to know what is 2r. So I will make a mathematical thing over here, that is phi is equal to RKB upon r. Then I will put what is RKB, it is EM, and r, that is the radius. Then phi is nothing but 2 alpha. Just rearrange, you will get the value of 2r. Just substitute in the equation number 1. You will get this e theta is equal to EM upon alpha into sine alpha, and after squaring you will get e theta square is equal to EM square sine square alpha upon alpha square. And as we know what is intensity, intensity is nothing but the square of amplitude. So as here amplitude square is there, we will substitute it with intensity. We will get I theta is equal to IN sine square alpha upon alpha square, and this is the final equation of intensity due to single slit. Okay. Now the last part, that is we have to find out the condition of maxima, condition of minima, and if asked we will calculate for secondary maxima also. Very simple the things are. So this is the question which is asked for 8 marks. So yes, it is of 8 marks length also. So we will consider what is this, that is the condition of maxima. Now we will write the equation of e theta is equal to EM sine alpha upon alpha before we have squared it. Okay, so we will consider this equation and we will take e theta is equal to EM upon alpha. We will keep sine alpha apart, and by Maclaurin series, I hope you are learning maths also in engineering. So this Maclaurin series is done in the in first unit only. So you will get this EM by alpha, and as by Maclaurin series, you can write sine alpha as alpha minus alpha cube by 3 factorial plus alpha raised to 5 by 5 factorial minus dot dot dot. So here if you take out alpha is common, take only two numbers inside the bracket, you will get e theta is equal to EM upon alpha into alpha, and under the bracket as I have taken alpha is common, I will get 1 minus alpha square by 3 factorial plus dot dot dot. Alpha will get cancelled. Now we have to put alpha is equal to 0. Why? Because we are finding out the condition of maxima. So here we will put alpha is equal to 0. So what will happen? E theta is equal to Em. Alpha is 0, so it will become 1 minus 0, and you will get E theta is equal to Em. But as we all know, what is alpha? Alpha is pi by lambda into a sin theta. Now where I have get this equation? So there I have written a small derivation as phi is equal to 2 alpha. Okay, so phi will be equal to 2 pi by lambda into a sin theta, because alpha is nothing but pi by lambda into a sin theta. In previous derivations I have derived this, so I think in the previous video I have derived this, so go and watch that, you will be clear about this. So from this what will happen? We will substitute this alpha and we will get alpha is equal to pi by lambda into a sin theta. This is nothing but for alpha. Just put this value. So as pi, lambda, a, these all are constants, so they will be not equal to 0. So here only the one thing will be remaining, that is sin theta, which will be equal to 0. So the theta will be equal to 0. This is the condition for maxima, that is our theta will be equal to 0. Then let's see what is the condition of minima. It is E theta is equal to Em sin alpha upon alpha. The same equation we will take, but here what we will put? We will put sin alpha is equal to 0. In previous condition of maxima we have put alpha is equal to 0. Here we will put sin alpha is equal to 0. Why? When sin alpha is 0? It is possible when alpha is equal to m pi. Now you will say yes, sin alpha will be 0 when alpha is 0 also. Yes, I know that alpha would be 0, then also the same condition is applied, but that will again become the condition of maxima. That means we have put in alpha is equal to 0 in the previous condition. So here we will not take 0, here we will take m pi. Just put the same equation here also, pi by lambda into a sin theta, and will be equal to m pi, because alpha is pi by lambda into a sin theta. Equate it with m pi, pi will get cancelled, and you will get the condition of minima as a sin theta is equal to m lambda. So this is the condition for minima. Then sometimes it is also asked to derive secondary maxima, which is lying between two minima. Okay, so that its condition will, because see here I have written with the pencil over here on the right corner, you can see m pi is there and the other one is m plus 1 into pi. So in between what will be there? It will be m plus 1 by 2 into pi. Simple logic. Okay, so the equation which we are going to consider over here is I theta, intensity formula. Okay, so I theta is equal to Im sin square alpha upon alpha square. Now we will rearrange it. I will take II term on the left hand side. I will get I theta by Im is equal to sin square alpha upon alpha square. Now at alpha I will put the value, that is m plus 1 by 2 into pi, which we have considered. So I theta by Im is equal to sin square into m plus 1 by 2 into pi upon what is alpha. Now here it is again m plus 1 by 2 into pi, but it is a whole square. I hope you have understood till now. Now just we have to show that for m value what would be the value of it. When we put m equal to 2, what would be the value, until the 3 maximum you can show. So for m equal to 1, if we put m equal to 1 in that equation, I will get sin square 3 pi by 2 upon 3 pi by 2 the whole square. By putting the values, you will get the final output by calculator and all. You will get 0.045. This value is very important. This value is only corrected in exam. Okay, then we will see for m equal to 2 and 3, just follow the same procedure. Put m is equal to 2 over here in here, so you will get sin square 5 pi by 2 upon 5 pi by 2 the whole square. By putting all the values you will get 0.0162, and for m equal to 3 you will get 0.008 by the same procedure. Okay, now you will say where these values, this 0.045, this 0.0162, this 0.008, where this is important. So it is important over here to make the final graph of this intensity pattern due to single slit. So here the derivation ends over here. So what will happen here, the maximum amplitude which is there, you will show it like that, and here pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, like this distance you will take. You can denote that y-axis as I theta upon Im, and what will be the maxima or minima which is coming over here. So that is the value you can see. The first is 0.045, then second is 0.0162, and the third you can take it as 0.008. So these are nothing but the secondary maximas. Okay, so this is why we have to consider secondary maxima. So a different question can also be asked for just only secondary maxima. So you have to write that secondary maxima condition. You have to start with the intensity due to single slit formula, then just put what alpha, that is equal to m plus 1 by 2 into pi. I hope you understood why we have taken m plus 1 by 2 into pi, because alternate values, that is m pi and m plus 1 pi will be there. Okay, so what will be the middle value of it? It will be m plus 1 by 2 into pi. Okay, the simple logic, just put alpha in that equation and you will get I theta by Im condition. So take it for m equal to 1, m equal to 2, and for most of and if you want you can take for m equal to 3 also, and just make the graph and mark the values. So here your graph and your derivation ends. So that is all about intensity due to single slit. So yes, in this video we have covered very important topics. I can say that all the topics which I have considered in this video are very important. I have asked in previous exams also. So if you have not understand, rewind the video, see till the time you are not understanding. Okay, so I have made my best effort. I have explained you very deep. I hope you have understood the video till now, and in the next part we will see plane diffraction grating, resolving power of optical instrument, release criteria of resolution, etc. Many points are there. So small points are remaining now. There are no big derivations remaining. So I will cover it in part number 5. Okay, so till now, if small thing also you have learned from this video, do like and subscribe my channel and keep supporting for me also, and I will make out more parts on this chapter and I'll complete this syllabus also. So thanks for watching till now.